Welcome back, Benchwarmers. Fly, Eagles, fly.
Eagles, Eagles. We watched Saquon run for over 2,000 yards in his first year in Philly and almost break the single season record.
They have the best defense in football and will need to come ready to have a chance at the Lombardi.
Grease the light pole. I'm Brendan. Go Birds.
I'm Corey, one whiz wit, and this is Our View from the Bench.
Before we get started, if you're not already, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you never miss any one of the new episodes.
Also, if you could please do us the favor, if you like what you see here, please don't forget to smash that like button.
Smash it for us. Come on. It's free. It's free for you. It's free for us. Helps out the channel a lot more than you probably think.
Hell yeah.
Well, Corey, I'm in my Eagles green today. I mean, this is a shirt from my church, but it's dang near the only green I own as a Laker fan, as we kind of talked about before the show. So today we will be covering why the
Hey,
Eagles.
I think. Oh wait, is this green? I can't tell. I'm not
Yeah,
wearing.
you're colorblind as hell. That
yeah,
is blue. So
okay,
none of those teams are participating. So, but that's okay. That's okay. So we're here. Why are the Eagles going to win the Super Bowl? I mean, it's down to two teams. They literally have a 50-50 chance.
That's a good point.
So they just have as much a chance as anybody. We're going to kind of break down why we think that they're going to be the champions this year. Super Bowl licks, or 59, as some people might like to call it. I like licks. It's kind of funny.
That's actually a good one. I hadn't heard that yet, but that's good. I like
Yeah.
it. Super Bowl licks in New Orleans. All right,
Super
let's
Bowl
do it.
licks. Yeah, don't lick in New Orleans. That could
No.
get dirty.
Oh,
but yeah.
God,
We'll move forward before we get onto a different type of show. Let's stick to sports. So. So let's I want to just dive through. There's a handful of reasons. We don't really have too much structure as to what it is, but we'll kind of cover some main pieces. What is it about it? Are there certain people that are important? And what is it that will push them over the top? So I kind of want to start a little bit with, what are some of the biggest reasons why they even have a chance, besides obviously the fact that they're playing in it, because
it does help.
Duh. Yes. And I'll start off the ball. Well, I'll bounce it right back off to you next. I think the main thing, as everybody who's really watched the Eagles this year will know, is it's got to start with the run game. Kellen Moore, who is the offensive coordinator of the Eagles, is one of the best passing guys that you could probably have, passing coordinators. Ask Dak. He had one of his best years when he was in Dallas, but he is so honed in on the identity of this Eagles team. They're just leaning into the run. Obviously, Saquon being basically probably kind of broke it, but they just didn't try for it. The stacked offensive line, the stacked running back position, and then the fact that Jalen can also run the ball, I think is one of the first reasons why they've got not only a chance, but a good chance.
Yeah, I can't argue with, like you said, not only because 50-50 they're there, but their defense is legit. And like you said, Saquon, man, he's the guy. If they can get him going and he can just do his normal thing, then the Eagles are going to have a great day. That's what it all comes down to. And it's funny, you mentioned Kellen Moore. I kind of forgot he was the OC, but if I remember correctly, I'm pretty sure he was the quarterback at Boise State back in the day when they did that fake handoff Liberty thing.
Statue of Liberty.
Yeah, so I'm surprised they don't have more trickery kind of in their offense, but maybe this is the game he pulls all out, because I know he's been interviewing for coaching, although I don't know if I'd want to go to New Orleans, so he probably isn't going to leave. But this is a Super Bowl, man. This is your first chance there as an offensive coordinator. Go show out. You have Saquon, one of the best running backs, if not the best, in the last, 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, I mean, let's give Derrick Henry some props, but yes.
Yeah, you're right. As a Titans fan, I did kind of forget about him, because we ain't winning anything.
That's true. Very true, unfortunately.
Yeah. But yeah, no, Saquon, and like I said, with Kellen Moore's identity of what he wants to do on offense, and you mentioned leaning into the run, even though that's not his specialty.
Yeah,
they've had a great year, and they've gotten to this point. Why do anything different? Just keep doing what you're doing. Try to keep the Chiefs off their toe or on their toes, and just confused as far as what you're going to do with Saquon. You can do so much. He doesn't have to just run out of the backfield. You can throw it to him and get him in movement already. So there's a lot of things they can do. I'm excited. This offense is way different than what the Chiefs faced 2 years ago when they played the Eagles.
Very true, which is one of the biggest reasons why I think, they actually have a really big chance. If we lean into that running game, second in yards per rush, only behind Baltimore, who literally have Derrick Henry and freaking Lamar Jackson. So it's kind of hard to beat that tandem. They're insane. They led the league in expected points contributed from rushing offense. It's a stat that I actually learned today. But basically just say, how good is this offensive attack when they run the ball? They lead the league in probably points scored based on how well they run. Their offense can move the ball. And they're not only doing it from that. It's mostly based on the run, but they're top 12 in points scored, yards, yards per play, yards per completion. They also have the 11th fewest penalties committed amongst the league this year. So they don't really hurt themselves too much. And they, like we talked about, really rely on running. One piece, and I know let me touch on a little bit here, kind of talk about how Josh Allen didn't do it very well, is offense in key situations. Third down, fourth down, right? 10th in the league on third down conversion percentage, fourth in the league on fourth down conversion percentage.
Well, yeah, because they run the push push thing on fourth down. No
Exactly.
wonder.
Exactly. So what I'm saying is, like, you're gonna need Kansas City is gonna have to leave them at like a 4th and 5. The 4th and 2s and 4th and 1s that are okay when you're trying to beat CJ Stroud, or they're okay when you're trying to who'd they play second?
Oh, Josh Allen.
Oh, okay. Yeah, if you're trying to no, they played them. Oh yeah, that's right. They only played 2. That's right.
Mhm.
Last year they had to play 3. So yeah, it's okay but not against this perfect tush push. A lot better than what you see in Buffalo, right?
Yeah, and again, there's no way to stop it. So their fourth down conversion, like you said, if it's 4th and 1 or 4th and 2, it's automatic. They're gonna get it. There's no way they're not. But if you can keep them, if they're gonna get to fourth down territory, if you can keep them 4 and further, you got a shot to at least stop them, or they're gonna have to run an actual real play in order to convert that fourth down compared to just tush push every time. Which, I mean, as long as they're going to do it, it's going to work. Although, I've noticed, at least, I don't know if you did in that Ravens game, they had Mark Andrews doing it instead of, I kind of like, and then Mariota, I think, for Washington. I like everybody kind of, why use the quarterback if, Hurts does squat like 700, so I get it for him. But if you don't have to put your starting quarterback in an opportunity where he can get hurt, but someone who can still get that first down, why not take advantage and put somebody else in there? So the tush push thing is becoming a thing for other teams, but it's not necessarily with a quarterback or the starting quarterback.
Yeah, nor is it as effective. There are other teams that can do it. I mean, even the Bills can do it with Josh Allen. Great. He's like 7 feet tall, 230,000 pounds. He's just a giant of a man, so it's kind of hard to stop him. But the Chiefs found out a way to do it, and it's going to be a lot harder to do so with Jalen. In fact, actually, to your point about other people doing it, I'm pretty sure the Rams had like a tight end try to push it over the line once when they were playing the Eagles or something too, because obviously Matt Stafford is old and doesn't run well at all. So trying to keep him kind of
It's probably Tyler Higbee, if I had to guess.
Yeah, I think so. I think it was. Yeah. The last piece that we're talking about, as far as it comes to this offense, really is one way to beat the Chiefs is to not let someone have the ball. That someone, obviously, being Patrick Mahomes. They are 4th this season in time of possession per drive. There's only 3 teams that have the ball more than them. So not only is it a way for, obviously, to lean on that run game, tire out that defense on the Chiefs, keep the ball out of Patrick Mahomes' hands at the same time. It's a recipe for disaster in Kansas City, if you're asking me.
Yeah, well, they always say your best defense is a good offense, right? Because, like you said, it keeps the Chiefs off the field. It keeps their defense out there, which is really good. That there's a reason they're here as well. But to keep them out there and tire them out in a Super Bowl, although both teams have been there, for most of the players, I should say, for both teams have been there for the weird halftime, how it's longer. So there's not going to be a lot of surprises for these squads and this coaching staffs. I think it's just going to be kind of business as usual as far as prepping and getting ready. It's just a matter of who comes out and actually, gets the dub.
Yeah, very true. All the talent, if you had to go up and down the line of the roster, all the talent is on the Eagles side. I'm not saying obviously the Chiefs have talent.
Yes,
in fact, Patrick Mahomes might be the most talented, right? So they might have 1, 2, and 5, but the rest of the thing really kind of just goes to Philly, and a lot of it's on that defense, which was pretty atrocious last year. And dude, he really remade that defense. I don't know, Cooper DeJean and Quinion Mitchell being the draft picks were huge because the secondary was terrible.
They went Gardner Johnson, right?
I was about to say, yep. They went and got CJ Gardner Johnson to really stiffen it up. And boy, did that defense show up. Vic Fangio's up for defensive coach of the year or something like that. Or
should be.
Yeah. So all sorts of things going on. Their defense is stacked. I know we just went over a bunch of stats from their offense and it looks great. If you thought that looked great, their defense is even better. I'll be honest with you.
It's stacked. Like you said, Fangio coming in, he was helping them last year because he wasn't coaching, but now he's back in and fully involved, and they have completely Gardner Johnson coming back in. I think we talked about last year too, because remember the Eagles made the trade for Kevin Byard at the deadline. I'm like, okay, they're trying
to that would be helpful.
Yeah, thought they're trying to shore up the back end of the defense, and it didn't help. If anything, it got worse. But now they went out and they fixed all those issues and redid their planning with, like I said, Fangio at the D coordinator position. So it has been a huge turnaround, and that's again a big reason of why this team is here. They can run the shit out of the ball, but they also can stop everybody else from scoring.
Exactly. Those are the two things, in my opinion, that are going to do it. I'm not saying Jalen Hurts can't throw the ball. I'm definitely not saying A.J. Brown and Devontae Adams can't. Devontae Adams, I'm sorry. Devontae Smith. We had him on our team. That's the only name that's in my mind the whole year. Devontae Smith can't catch the ball. What I'm saying is that's not their strong suit. So quickly, let's kind of go over a little bit of their defense since we're talking about it. And then we can kind of get into a little bit of the other pieces of this game. Second fewest points allowed all year. Fewest amount of yards per game, first in passing yards per game, which is kind of big because they have that guy named Patrick on the other side. Mm-hmm. And Cooper DeJean, CJ Gardner-Johnson, and Quinion Mitchell are locking down receivers like nothing. They're sixth in turnovers, so they get the ball away from you. Just ask Washington, because they couldn't hold on to the ball to save their lives. Third and third down conversions against. Nobody's really getting third down, and we know that the Chiefs don't have a tush push, so that's not happening. It's starting to look like Patrick Mahomes has a giant problem ahead of him.
Yeah, and after saying all those numbers, it's kind of hard to argue that. I mean, again, the Eagles defense is here for a reason. They shut down the Commanders, who scored 45 on the Lions the week before. So
in Detroit.
Yeah, and that's a good point. They were in Detroit when they did that. So, that does help division opponents. We talked about that last week before they played, but still, the Eagles just overall, we've been talking about it all year. They've been a team that's kind of looked like they're destined to get back there and take a chance again. They lost 2 years ago to the Chiefs, and now here they have their opportunity to kind of, rewrite history. I know they beat them probably the year after in the regular season, but it never is the same. But getting an opportunity and a chance to not only win a Super Bowl, but get back at the team that took you down from that opportunity 2 years ago, if you're not motivated and don't come out ready, I don't know how else you're going to be able to do this thing.
Yeah, revenge is definitely a big factor in my opinion. Not the entire team is here, but to your point, it was just 2 years ago. Most of the core players are here. None of the rookies, obviously. Saquon obviously just got here. So some of the big names, sure, may not have been here. The defensive coordinator is different, etc. But to your point, this is a revenge game. Last few bit of stats here, because I just think these were super interesting when I was doing some research. This one is kind of big too. Their defense, third in percentage of drives that end in offensive scores. So basically, a lot of people are punting against the Eagles. Very few times are you actually going down to score. I think one of the biggest ones, and this is what a lot of people, because again, it's all about the penalties. The Chiefs are getting their, handed it to them. Eagles defense, second fewest penalties allotted to a defense in the entire league this whole season. So a very little penalized team against what people will say is a heavily helped team by penalties. I think it'll be kind of interesting to watch how it goes in the Super Bowl, because the Eagles are one of the teams that don't hurt themselves, at least from a defensive perspective.
Correct. Now, I know you said how many total. Does it say how many average penalties they have per game or anything in that number? I'm just curious.
It probably does. I didn't note it though.
I'm just curious because if they typically have 3 or 4 a game, if they end up having 8 in this game, everyone's going to go straight to that and use it as a thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a great point. That's a really good point. And I don't know. Well, you know what we'll do? How about with this? We'll let everybody know what that answer is when we do the next episode. I'll have that ready for you.
Sorry, I totally just thought of that on the blink.
No, that's a really good point. That is a really good point. So the last 2 things that I'll have here is that contributed points thing. I thought this was kind of crazy. 58 points were contributed to to this defense this year. The next closest was 35 by Minnesota. They are literally 22 points ahead, or 23 points ahead of the next best defense. Damn. This one was pretty crazy too. In the entire league, as far as and obviously this makes complete sense when thinking about how the league is focused. We're in a pass-heavy league, obviously. I know we're talking about how the Eagles like to run the ball, but the rest of the league likes to throw the ball. They are the only team in the entire league with a positive points expected for a passing defense. They have 12.27 points expected when their defense is expected to score 12 points against heavy passing attacks. The second highest in the entire league is Houston with negative 5.15.
Oh, wow.
Negative 5.15. They're giving up 5 extra points, which is good. These teams are literally getting points away from passing teams. Wow. So, I mean, they are stacked, bro. They really do know how to stop a lot of things.
Yeah,
Ninth in
well,
yards after the catch. So even if Kelsey gets it, it's not like he's breaking off. And then ninth in missed tackles, which means if they get their hands around you, you're probably going down. Chiefs
yeah.
got a
So
lot coming, bro.
yeah, they do. But it's weird. I feel like every time there's a Super Bowl matchup where one side is like, all the numbers say this, and then it doesn't really have any effect on the game itself. So we'll see if the numbers ring true when it comes to game time. Because, as we always talked about, Andy Reid with the extra week is different. But again, having a matchup against these guys 2 years ago makes it a little different too. The rematch part of it is what makes it really interesting because we just played them a couple years ago. We know a lot of what they're probably going to do. So there's not going to be too many surprises. Hopefully, one or two here and there if you're a Chiefs fan. But if you're the Eagles, you got to feel at least a lot better that there's isn't a team you haven't seen in 3 or 4 years and don't know anything about.
Yeah, very true. Very true. So since we kind of talked about it, this revenge, we talked about it a little bit before. I even touched on it a little bit. There's most of the same team is here. So let's break down into these players then. For the Eagles, everyone's important. They're a very talented team. It's a 53-man roster for a reason. From coach to coordinators to staff to team to players to kicker to punt, everybody, right? Who is, though, the most important player? Who needs everything to get together in order for the Eagles to really pull off the Super Bowl? I think you already know where I'm going to go, so I'll just quickly say my answer. And it's very easy. There's this new guy. He runs the ball a lot. He's pretty good at it. His name's Saquon Barkley, and he's a freaking monster. If he can go for the 150 and 2 touchdowns, break off a couple big runs like he did in the first run he had against the Commanders, he's the most dangerous one. What about you?
I mean, Saquon is the right answer, but I think depending on how this game goes, I think the answer actually for me is going to be Jalen Hurts because if for some reason the Chiefs are able to slow Saquon down, at least so he's more of an average running back than the Superman he's been this year.
Yeah.
Then if that's the case and they get down, they're going to have to start throwing. So Hurts is going to have to get some big plays to Smith, or he's going to have to get one. Who's the other guy I'm thinking?
AJ Brown.
Thank you. I was like, he was
on your team.
Tennessee, yeah. He's going to have to get it to Brown. They're going to have to get down the field through the air at some point if this is close or if the Chiefs are somehow able to slow Saquon down enough that they have to think about throwing. If Saquon has a field day, then you're right. Saquon's the answer. There's no doubt about it. But depending on how this game flows, especially early on, could actually be that Jalen Hurts is the biggest, most important player. But I am with you. I think at the end of the day, if Saquon has a huge day, he's going to win MVP. So he's the most important.
Yeah, agree. I think the one thing that we're also maybe overlooking as far as important, these two answers are the right answers, right? But one thing that has troubled Philly, and this is the one thing that is Jake Elliott. They're kicking.
Yeah.
He missed field goals. He's missing extra points. Points left on the field are things you cannot do against the Chiefs. So as much as they're pretty good, the one thing that I'll give them is they themselves can't kick, but they can stop the kick. So Harrison Butker is kind of going to have a little bit of a problem. Top 6 in both field goal percentage and extra point percentage against. So as much as a lot of people are going to say Harrison Butker is a guarantee against the defensive part of the special teams, is not necessarily. The problem that I think, though, is the Eagles really got to hope Jake Elliott is on.
Well, it'll help Elliott. They're indoors. It's a dome. So there's no weather issues.
Sure.
But even said that, the Chiefs have had some games where they've had some blocks, especially that game-winning block of a field goal against Denver in the regular season. So even though if Elliott has no weather issues and he's feeling good, the Chiefs special team defense is not terrible either. So not anything is going to be a gimme on both sides when it comes to extra points or field goals, regardless.
Yep. Very true. Very true.
Oh, man.
All right, then. Whew. Well, why are they going to win then? We've talked about how they can win. We talked about who is the most important player. We differ on that, but either way, they're both really important. So then why will they win?
They will win this game if they do their job, which is their offensive line, protecting, giving Saquon plenty of time and space to get in some holes and break a 50 to 60-yard run, maybe a couple of them. And then their defense does their job, and they're not going to shut out the Chiefs. That would be insane to think out loud. I mean, I guess it's possible, but I don't see that happening.
I doubt it.
As long as the defense can keep the Chiefs under 20 points, which the Chiefs have only scored over 30, I think, once, and that was against Buffalo last weekend. So if you can keep their points down and you guys can just do your job on offense, and again, like you mentioned, keep on the field for long drives, so that way the Chiefs' offense isn't out there very long because a good defense is a good offense. I think the Eagles run away with this game. That's the only way they're going to be able to, is if they just do their job and run the ball like they've been doing all year.
It is possible to hold a Patrick Mahomes team to single digits in a Super Bowl. Ask the Bucs.
Very true. Very true.
31-9 was the score going into the fourth quarter. I think that's how it finished. I don't remember the total off the top of my head, but I think that's how it was. So it's possible. That was with Tyreek. But it's less
that was
likely.
The year the Chiefs' offensive line was just shit, right? It was completely done.
They were hurt going into the Super Bowl, and Vita Vea and everybody just ate. So I understand it, but my point is like, it's not impossible. No, it's improbable. It's improbable, right? This is why the Eagles will walk away from this game as champions, because it's time. They were just here 2 years ago, man. They gave Pat a run for his money, dude. 38-35 final. Mm-hmm. That's damn near as close of a game as you get besides overtime. I mean, if you think about it. But the Eagles have now only improved. This has nothing to do with Kansas City. I'm not saying they've deproved. Gotten worse. Let's just go with that. I'm not saying they've gotten worse, but I just know that the Eagles have improved. Jalen Hurts, more time under center, just more snaps, more plays to see. Nick Sirianni just getting better at coaching, right? Just that he was young and just more experience, right? Adding the defense, getting the rookies that you picked up in CJ Garner. But obviously, man, it's Saquon. He is a game changer when he gets the ball, and if he could break off 50, 60-yard runs like you were talking about, he can do damage. And it's so debilitating, man, because it's just a run. Like those crazy 50-yard bombs from Goff to Amon-Ra that happens, you know what I mean? But when Saquon is behind the line and then is still scoring, it's just defeating sometimes, I feel like, for the defense. And he can do it. Did it multiple times, and they put up 50-5 against Washington. So that's the reason why I think the Eagles are walking away with it.
All right. Well, that's our NFC champion preview as far as why or how we think they can win. And now we just got to get ready for the Chiefs version of this episode.
Yeah, we're not going to give away the score. We're going to do the Eagles. We're going to do the Chiefs. Then we'll do like a Super Bowl preview where we kind of go over, who we think's going to win. Maybe we'll dabble in some betting. Maybe an I got 5 on it for everybody out there. Last one of the season. I miss football already.
Well, yeah, because there's no football this weekend. You got to wait a whole other week.
I know. I don't want to watch the Pro Bowl games.
Yeah, you're not going to watch the games. Don't even lie.
I forgot they were even on today already, bro. I saw a thing on my thing that's like, he's over here doing that. I was like, they're playing something right now? That's crazy.
Yeah, didn't even know. Oops.
Let us know in the comments below if you've got the Eagles winning. Are you an Eagles fan? Are we flying with the birds this year? Are they winning the Super Bowl?
Or do you think they have no chance going against the defending champs trying for a three-peat? Let us know on Instagram and Twitter at RVUFTB, or comment here on YouTube as well.
Appreciate everybody for stopping by. Thank you as always for seeing things from RV from the bench. I'm Brendan.
I'm Corey. Like we always say, enjoy the sports until we talk again.
Peace. Go Birds!
This was a Sycamore Fourth Studios production.